Hello, in today's video I am going to show you the basic checkmate patterns. Also I'm going to show you some checkmate patterns that can occur in your middle games, and I'm also going to show you some examples of early checkmates that can occur in different openings. So let's start with the basic checkmates. If you are already intermediate and you know this, you can skip towards the checkmate patterns. I will link them, timetable them in the description. Okay, so if you are in an endgame like this where you're up a queen and a rook, the way you win this is quite simple. You use the queen and the rook to cut the king off laterally, horizontally or vertically, and you push the king to the side of the board. For example, I can use the rook to check the king. The king is forced to go to the e-file. I continue checking him, and slowly the king moves to the side of the board where, giving the last check, it's mate, because the black can't move away because the rook holds the b-file. And this is called ladder checkmate. It's quite simple and a very efficient way to checkmate. Now, if you don't have a queen but two rooks, it's the same idea, but you need to keep your rooks out of attack. Since here I can't go to f3 with my rook because black will take it. Because of that, I'm going to lift my rook up so it's out as far away as possible. Now black moves the king away of the f-file preemptively, so I'm going to take it. And we use the same idea of controlling files and pushing the king to the side of the board. Now when the king attacks the rook, you can simply move it up and put your rooks in a sort of diagonal pattern like this. Now again he moves out of the d-file, I'm going to take it. Again he moves out of c-file, so I'm going to take it. Now when he attacks the rook, I'm going to put my rook down. Now he moves out of the b-file and I'm going to take it. Attacks the rook, I'm going to move the rook down. And now I can play rook a2 and it's mate because the bottom rook holds the b-file and the a rook holds the a-file. Very simple. Now, endgame where you are up a queen. This is has also the same idea. You want to push the king towards the side of the board, and there are a couple of ways to doing it, but a very simple way is called is when you place the queen and in a knight opposition from the king, like this. Since the opposition here is already, I'm going to throw in a in-between move just to lose a tempi. So I'll move the king up, and now when the black moves, I'm going to repeat the move that he did. So if he moves up diagonally, I'm going to move up diagonally with the queen as well. Now again, and this slowly makes the king move to the side of the board. Now when the king is cut off, I'm going to slowly drag him up. Now very important, when you reach this position you need to stop, because if you go up one more square it's going to be a stalemate because black won't have any moves. That's why you need to bring your king now, because black has only one square. You can pre-move this, you bring your king, and now when black moves you deliver checkmate like this. Also quite simple. There are different ways, but the idea is this: you use the queen to, and also sometimes the king, to push the king, black's king, to one side of the board. Now king and the rook. Now this is a little bit harder to win because we don't have a second piece that moves horizontally, and we will need to use the king and the rook to limit the squares black has to for him to go to this one side of the board. So I'm going to again move my king. Let's move it up. And these endgames can take often some time to win. Now I'm going to move my rook up. Again, he leaves the FL, so I'm going to take it. Now I will move into opposition. I will play one rook move, sort of force him back into opposition. So, so now I'm going to move my rook. Okay, let's move my king first. And what you are doing, you are using the king. So again, now I can't get the opposition because that in the position would be black's move and he would run. I'm going to lose one move and make black to move again. So this is called opposition when there's a square between both kings. And now since the king holds all three squares, I'm going to check with the rook and force the king back. Now we bring the king. Again, going to lose one move. Again, opposition. We are holding these squares. We force the black's king to side of the board. And the only thing that black can do is run, but he will meet his demise. And these are the basic checkmates. Well, there are also possibilities to checkmate with two bishops and a knight and a bishop, but these endgames occur very rarely and they are also quite hard to win, so I'm not going to show you them because it's not practical to learn them until you are like at a master level. Well, the next are basic checkmate patterns, and I wanted to start with the back rank checkmate, a very common checkmate at the beginner levels, when one of the king is on the back rank and it has no squares to run. You can give a check and black won't have any moves, any ways to escape this. This is very effective at the beginner level, it happens a lot. One more variation is where the black's king is on the back rank, so you are going to use your queen to deflect the black's king farther away, so it has no escapes. And then you're going to sacrifice your queen. Sacrifice. Sacrifice is a good word. On the back rank to recapture with the rook and win by back rank checkmate. As the name suggests, it happens mainly on the back rank. One more variation is when there is a piece defending back rank squares, and now there's a pretty tactic. You want to checkmate black, but since the bishop holds, you're going to sacrifice one rook to deflect the bishop from guarding, and then you're going to deliver the back rank checkmate. One more famous way to checkmate is when you have a bishop and a queen battery staring at either the h7 or h2 pawns. In this position, if it's white to move, white can checkmate with queen takes h7, since the black has nowhere to run and the queen is guarded by the bishop. A sort of similar variation of this when rook and queen team up on the h file, since we have a bishop battery here, but it isn't useful. If it's again white to move, we can go queen takes h7, and it's checkmate. Now, for this I used Wikipedia to find all the different ways of checkmating. This is called dominoes mate, when the king is stuck and the escape squares are holded by a pawn, and we use queen to deliver the checkmate, since the pawn holds these squares and black can't run. Example of this would be this. In this position you can try to maybe find it. As you see, black's pawn on g3 is holding f2, and you would want to get the queen over to h2. So to do that, you will sacrifice not one rook. White has to take because it's the only move. Now you will give this check. White will go back. Now you again will sacrifice the other rook. Again, white takes, black checks, and when he moves back, you checkmate. This very beautiful sort of two rook sacrifice to get the queen to h8 and to h2. Domino also is sort of famous for a different checkmate, when in case of the pawn there's a bishop, and now again bishop is holding escape square e7, and we would like to get the queen to g7, but we can't do that because knight is holding, knight is blocking the way. So we are going to check with the rook and deflect the black's knight, because that's the only legal move. Black can't do anything else. Now we are going to go queen to g7, and it's checkmate. Next one is a very sort of similar way, but in this case the pawn is not on the g file, it's on the f file, and it's holding g7, and we're going to play queen g7 checkmate. Now these positions, this is a sort of a common way to checkmate. One thing you need to keep in mind is that if you're playing with black, you can play bishop. If you have a bishop, you could play bishop f7 to hold it, or queen. If queen could teleport there, then it will be okay. But here it's checkmate. Now Arabian mate. Arabian mate can occur when there's a knight and a rook, and you're going to use the fact that knight's holding and the king is in a corner, or sometimes it is blocked with different pieces. You're going to play rook g8, and black has nowhere to run, and it's checkmate. An example of this is in this position. There is a beautiful mate for black. It's from the game Adolf Andersen versus Emil Schallop. Here, black checked white's king. Now if he moves down, there's a checkmate after g4, king h3. What was it? Yeah, okay, not g4, knight f3, white king moves down, and a pawn checkmate. but in the game white after check moved up. Now black took the pawn on f3, since white can't recapture because pawn is pinned. Now white played king h1, and black sacrificed one rook to open the second rank to deliver this Arabian mate. After this a mate's mate, which is when a bishop and a rook team up to checkmate, when black has one of the squares taken by a friendly piece, like this. As you see, black has nowhere to run because the pawn is blocking his escape. Now, in this position, as you see, the bishop is holding this little diagonal, and we would like to get a rook there. So to do that, we are going to take on h7. Now black has to take. We check with the second rook. Now the h file is open. Black moves back, and we deliver the checkmate. Also a very common way to checkmate. Well, the next is a smothered mate. A smothered way is when the king is trapped in the corner and we use a knight to checkmate. As I showed, we are going to use the queen to deflect this rook to trap the black's king, and for that we're going to play queen b1. Now white king can't take because the bishop holds. White has to take with the rook, and now we can play knight c2 checkmate. A very early way to checkmate like this happens in the Caro-Kann, when white plays this tricky move, queen e2, black takes, and now instead of going knight f6, white plays knight d7 and loses on the spot because knight d6 is checkmate, since the pawn is pinned and black's king is trapped. Okay. Next, Boden's mate. This mainly occurs when one of the players is castled long on the queen side. So one bishop needs to hold black's king. Also, he can't have any escape squares, and you're going to use one bishop to deliver the checkmate. An example of this would be in this position. If you are playing as black, you see this light squared bishop is holding the king, and you'd like to get your bishop there, but you can't because black's pawn is holding that. But you also could see that this pawn is protecting c3. So to get rid of it, we are going to play queen takes c3 check. Now white has to take, he has no other options. We open this diagonal and bishop a6 is checkmate. A very beautiful mate. Also, some of these examples have been taken from chessfox.com. Shout out for them for giving some of these cool positions. Now, Anastasia's mate. This happens when black's king is on one side of the board and some piece is holding the escape squares, or there are no escape squares. Now we are going to use the rook to check the king. Black will sacrifice, or because blocking just leads to a quicker mate. And now only option that black can do is to block, but that doesn't help because mate comes soon. Yeah, this knight is very important because it holds g6 and g8 and it's mate. Another example of this, also it's called Greco's mate, because instead of the knight holding the escape square, it's going to be a bishop. So you see the bishop is holding g8, and we are going to sacrifice the knight on g6 to open up the h file. Now we are going to check, and now black can only sacrifice, and it is a mate. Also very nice mate. Next one, dovetails mate, if I pronounce that correctly. It happens when black's king is sort of stuck between two pieces of his, and opponent can move the queen and use that the queen also holds diagonally to checkmate opponent. Now another example of this is, okay, please load, thank you, is in this position. Now we are going to use these two pieces to get, firstly we need to get the king here, and we'll want the queen to be on h3. So how can we do that? First we need to give a check. Now black's only move is to play king g4, and now we can play queen h3, delivering the dovetails mate. And one of the last checkmate patterns is when there's a bishop and a rook staring at the g7 pawn or its counterpart on g2. When black can one player can take this with the rook, only move is to go to the corner. Now you can take the f7 pawn because it's check. Now only move is to go back. Now you check again, you force the king back to the corner, and you simply move the rook down. Now opponent blocks and you deliver the checkmate. Also, I'm going to show you some cool checkmates that can occur in some openings. Now the first one is very famous early queen attack, when white is trying to attack f7, and if black doesn't defend it or block the queen's way, white can checkmate. For example, a very common mistake is playing knight f6, attacking the queen and losing in one move. Now even faster way to checkmate is actually for white to weaken his dark squares by playing either by playing g4. Now black is going to take the center, open up the queen, and now if white plays f3, then he has lost because white is in check and he has nowhere to run. Now the next mate, which is a sort of a very common trap that happens in Italian. When black pins the knight and white kicks it back, going back is a serious mistake because black should have taken, because now white has this legal trap when white plays knight takes e4, sacrificing the queen. And if black takes the queen, white has a mate by firstly taking on f7 with check, forcing the king up, and knight d5 is checkmate. If black didn't take the queen, then white would simply take on h5. If black took on c4, I mean queen b5, and you pick up the knight. Again, this one is from Akaro Khan, a Tal variation. I think I showed this in my video, but I think it's good to refresh. So in Tal's variation, if black allows white to play g4 and force the bishop back, and after the trade, I think I messed up the move order. First we go e6, and if black takes, we trade. And now in this position, you can see that black's king has only 2 squares. And if black plays knight d7 and traps the king, then queen g6 is checkmate. A very funny way to lose. And that's pretty much it. Of course, there are some probably mates that I haven't covered, but I'm quite sure that this is a very good summary of a large part of them. I used Wikipedia. They had a really cool page about all the mates, and if you want, you can go there and read about the history of some of them, because as you saw, many of them are called after famous people like Morphy. And yeah, I really enjoyed making this video. I learned some cool history of chess, and hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you have learned some of these. I am going to link this Lichess study in the description if you want to practice some of them, and hope you enjoy, and goodbye. Thanks for watching.